This is Lisa Tucker, host of The Book Cover, which showcases local literary personalities. So listen to The Book Cover on the borderline. And remember, don't judge a book by its cover. Hi, this is Lisa Tucker. You are listening to The Book Cover on the Borderline, and today my author is Sherry HANES. Sherry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lisa. It's wonderful to be here.
Now, this kind of book is the kind of book that I really go for. So, first of all, it's nonfiction.
Nonfiction.
Right, and I do enjoy nonfiction that aren't historical, even the bestest,
Yes.
me coming from an English major. So your book is called...
Spirited Conversations, Next.
What was the next?
The next is because I've had a plethora of spirits come to me wanting to reveal their message to the ones that remain here behind after they've departed. And so in a lot of cases, there was like a little bit of a lineup, so it was like, okay, I heard you.
There's a cue for you.
Yes.
I love it. So, okay, so let's go back to make sure our listeners know what you are, what you do, sort of what your special skill is. So, how early would you say in your life did you develop this skill, or did you always have it?
I always had it from the time I could remember, which was like 2.5, 3
Right.
years old. And of course, my family, it was a taboo subject in those days.
Yes.
But my family, I found out later, were all clairvoyants, and I do believe that's what I classify myself as other people do.
Right.
The range is quite wide in this phenomenon, which can involve a lot of different things. For example, there are 8 clairs that I'm aware of.
Which surprised me. You sent me, before we met today, you sent me over a PDF of the 8 clairs. And I'm like, who are the 8 clairs, thinking they're people?
Yes.
But I didn't realize that there were clairvoyants.
Yes.
Then there was one clair empathy.
Yes. There's clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, clairalience, if I'm saying that correctly, clairgustance, and clairempathy, and clairagency. So there's a lot of different clairs that I possess these particular, I'll call it skills.
Yeah.
Or I like
Gifts.
to refer to it as gifts.
Yeah.
Because I do feel strongly about that. And I've experienced pretty much every one of these in every one of the stories that is in the book.
So to some level. But your strongest, I guess we'll say is clairvoyance?
I would say it would be the clairsentient, which is, and if I can read just
Sure,
a
go
bit,
ahead.
It's of clear feeling. This entails feeling a person's or spirit's emotions, or feeling another person or spirit's physical pain. I get a lot of that. Also, I can pick up their emotional state, their sadness, their grief, and that is all transferred on in conversation to the one receiving the message.
So interesting.
It is. I can give you an example.
I would love to. I love examples about this.
This is the very first story in the book, and it was like a total revelation for the woman that received the message. Pardon me. And just to give you a brief snapshot, I was working in a restaurant. I won't say where because we want to.
Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah.
Okay. and the name of the story is The Lady in the Restaurant. And in a snapshot story of this, it was back in 1993, and I was working in a restaurant, and a couple had come in when everyone else had left for the afternoon, and they were quite somber. And when the woman passed by me to get to her table of choice, there was a strong sense of an incoming entity with her. And immediately in my mind's eye, I could see the woman's face. I could see how her hair was done. I could see the color of her skin, the color of her eyes.
And this is the lady who's passed. You see all this.
This is the image that followed her in.
Wow.
Yes. And the lady and her husband were, like I said, in a somber mode. And I did the usual thing, brought the menu, the coffee, and all that. And then suddenly compulsion overtakes me, and I realize I have a duty, a spiritual and moral duty, to approach the woman with all caution, of course.
Yes.
And I did go up to her and say, "Excuse me, but I have a message for you." Now,
that would freak me the hell
out. As it did her.
Okay.
And me as well. I'm thinking, where is this all coming from? I never do.
Because you can't control it. It's not something that you control.
No. And I always asked the higher power, as I understand him, who works in my life, and anyone can choose what they do. I've always asked her,
yes,
to be a instrument of peace, love, that I may help others. And so this opportunity had arisen, and the lady calmly said, with folded arms, I might add, "Oh, and just what might that be?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to say this with all compassion, and that we, with our limited human understanding, cannot possibly comprehend, but here it goes." And I told her there was a presence here, and that I don't know if it was her mother or her sister, but they wanted her to know that they are out of pain, they are happy, and that she wanted the daughter, not to worry about her. And the lady said to me, "Oh, is that right?" And I said, "Yes, I'm supposed to give you that message." And she said, "Thank you for that." And I walked away, and her husband was upset, and he threw his fork in his food. It stood up on end, and he said, I never believed this bull crap.
Yeah, you can say bullshit.
Okay.
You're allowed.
and he said, "But now I'm going to have to." So I left them to their lunch, and the lady came at the end, of their dining experience, and she said, "No, I want you to keep the rest of this change," when I gave her back what was coming to her. And at that time, she gave me $5.86. And the reason I'm saying that is because at that time I was only making 90 cents an hour.
So that was like 6 hours worth of work.
Yeah, exactly. And I did say to her, no, I cannot accept this. This is far too much. She said, "No, I want you to have it," because she said, "I believe you were sent as an angel to me, because I'd never been in this restaurant in my life. I don't know you from a hole in the ground." Yeah. But she said, "There's no way you could have known that my mother died 3 hours ago at the hospital."
Wow. I just got chills.
Yeah, so those are how the experiences go in a lot of cases.
I love those stories.
And then we have other stories too. In the book caption on the front of the cover, it says hauntings, ghostly messages, and strange coincidences. And there was an instance where a family member of mine, you'll read about it in the book anyway.
Yes, I can't wait to read it.
Was in a recovery home in Alberta, and I hadn't heard from, it was my father to be exact, and I hadn't heard from him for 3 years, and one day I got a call. He was in a recovery home. He's long passed since. But the thing was, we had conversations over the next 8 months and letters going back and forth, and there was a period of time where I didn't hear from him at all. And I called the recovery home, and he would just avoid the calls. The director would say, "He's busy, he's not in," whatever it took to avoid me. And I said to my friend, and I said to him, "There's something terribly wrong, and I'm going to write a letter." And he said, "Oh, no, just let him be." And I said, "No, something's wrong. I can feel it. I know it. Something is wrong." And so I took pen to paper, and before I started off, the salutation, I said a little prayer, and I said to the higher power that I believe in, I said, please let the words that I write be thine and not mine. And I don't remember what I wrote in the letter. I remember saying, hi, Dad, and signing off, your number 3 daughter. And anyway, sent the letter off. And about 2 weeks later, I think it was, I got a phone call coming in. And it was my dad, and he was quite emotional on the phone. And I said, oh my God, Dad, like, where have you been? I was so worried about you. And he goes, are you sitting down? And I said, yes. He goes, I have something to tell you. He said, I was waiting in the lobby of the recovery home when the director gave me your letter. And he said, I fumbled with it. I was going to throw it in the garbage, as a matter of fact. I recognized your handwriting, and I thought, I'm not going to read this. And he said, but then temptation of what you might have said overtook me, and I opened the letter. He said, I read the letter through, and he said, I fell to my knees, and pardon me, I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, I see that. That's okay. This is an emotional thing, especially when it's a family member.
Yes.
It's such a deep, emotional, when you connect with something else, and it helps you help somebody.
Yes.
It almost, I have had similar situations.
Wow.
Where if something that you have been given, you call it a gift,
Yes,
can help somebody else, it's actually helping you.
Yes, and I'll finish the story in a moment, but yes, that's true. And the beauty of it is, I push ego out of the way, because I am not the focus of this journey. It is to help others. Mm-hmm. Yes, I do benefit from it, but that's not why I do it. Mm-hmm. And it comes tenfold back to me, mm-hmm. So anyway, back to the story at hand. The director, like I said, handed him the letter. He did read it. He was reading it. And at that moment, he said, I said to the director, I want you to sign me back in. And he said, my dad said to me, what had happened was he had called a taxi, and he was waiting for the taxi to show up, and the taxi, I guess, was delayed, gave him more time to fumble with the letter and open it and read it. And he said, I have to tell you, Sherry, I was going off to commit suicide that very afternoon, and your letter had saved my life. And I said, Dad, I only wrote the letter. It was God's message to you. Wow. God is. He understood him at the time.
Yeah.
I don't profess to push any belief of my own onto anybody else.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Once we push our egos out to the side, because we're all born with one.
Sure.
Many, many wonderful things can happen when the mind opens up, the spirit opens up. And what we see in front of our eyes is not all there is to life or to death, I might add.
And you know what? There's a certain kind of comfort in knowing that there's a connection. There is a connection to the other side.
That's right.
We don't see it. It's not, something that we can see, touch, taste, smell. Well, sometimes.
Yes.
But people that don't have a gift or don't have skills, it's nice. I think it would be comforting for people to know that there is a connection.
There is.
If sometimes it's just listening.
Yes. And the way energy is explained, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Mm-hmm. And energy runs through every one of us.
Yep.
It's the low vibration that keeps others from actually experiencing the higher vibrations that allow in the spiritual aspect of these things, the energy of things that we cannot see with our own eyes. Although I have to say, I have seen energies that have passed on, and
well, you have all the clairs.
I do. I do.
So you see, smell, taste, and
yes.
You might see, smell, taste, and touch. Yeah. So, did you put that story about your dad in the book? You did.
Yes, I did, and it's called. Just a second, I've got my list right here.
And while you're looking for it, might I just say that the book's not out yet, so it's just going to publication now.
It's literally in the hands of the publisher at this moment as we speak, and I'm very excited to first of all be able to put these stories, and I don't write these stories for me because I've carried around these stories basically all my life.
Since 1993, I guess.
Yeah, well, even before
least,
that,
but yeah.
But the purpose of this book is to help others with grief, sorrow, remorse, even resolving guilt. There's a story in the book about such a thing as, somebody that passed on came back to resolve the guilt. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I want to give a message to everyone who's listening or anyone who's reading the book that you are not saddled with what you believe in your present state of mind. There is far beyond what we can explain, but it is available to everyone who pursues it. And that's the beauty of it. And it's free.
Right? Yes.
Well, the book's not free, but that's energy.
You'll have to pay for the book. Yeah. But the abilities, if you just, and I say listen, or if you just see, if you just open your mind and open your eyes and open your ears and maybe close the mouth a little bit. Not, people talk a lot.
Yes.
But if you just sit and listen, there's things that will, I guess, try to get your attention that you have no idea.
Yes. Oh, that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And, strange coincidences, and there's a couple of stories in there too of angelic interventions and angelic. Now, I don't want to say this is an intervention because it was more of an experience, and it lasted for 5 months, and that's when I was expecting both of my children. And my mother and I, which a lot of people probably wouldn't believe, but we'd have conversation on the telephone late at night over 500 miles. I lived in different cities at the times, and I would say to my mom, "Can you hear that beautiful music?" And she goes, "Yes." And I said, "Oh my God, it's coming from somewhere in my house." She goes, "No, it's coming from inside my house." And it was so angelic. It would bring, just tears of joy to your eyes. And I listened to that for 5 months every night until the children were born. And I could hear the low luster conversation of just people socializing and, like after dinner party or something like that. And music was, I can't even describe it. There's nothing on earth that sounds like that.
I wonder if, and I don't know if you've ever thought of this, you being a clairvoyant, being pregnant with maybe possibly a clairvoyant, and those two skills mashing together.
Yes. My son, and my daughter, both adults. My son has a very strong intuitiveness, and my daughter, I could say without a doubt, is a clairvoyant as well. She has the gifts, and I'm happy because they can see or understand a different side of life that isn't, tangible.
That's right.
And sometimes that's what we have to do. And there's a phrase I often use, two of them actually. One is, "There is a principle which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all argument, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt prior to investigation." And that's by Herbert Spencer. And the other passage that I really love is, "Faith is believing when common sense tells you not to." So those are things where it removes the doubt, removes the ego, and lets you broaden your horizons of understanding.
Widen the mind.
Yeah, with the energetic field, supernatural phenomenon, unexplained events, strange occurrences. It helps to bring people to that understanding and receiving and accepting it. And one is the transmitter, one is the receiver. So and you can transmit as well as you can receive, I might add.
Right. So you would consider yourself a transmitter? No, sorry, a receiver.
Receiver, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And sometimes, although this isn't in the book at all.
Good, extra stuff. We always want extra stuff.
I have been able to transmit, if it sounds okay to use telepathically, messages to others to contact or to make contact with me or make contact with another person. And it happens. The more you bring up your vibration, the more you realize the power you actually have over one topic that's very misunderstood is manifesting. Now, there's a story in this book, too, about such a manifestation. And I have to say that when you manifest, which is another part of energy, I might add, you can determine all things that are great come into your life. But the one catch is you cannot do it out of selfishness. You have to do it out of love, because people that will receive these manifestations would want to share them with their families, okay? And that should be priority. Love is the energy of all of it's the king of, cash isn't king. It's energy that is king.
And one of my favorite, I don't even know where I got this, or maybe I just made it up and I'm a prophet, I don't know. But I always say, whatever decision you have to make, whether we're talking politics, education, religion, lead with love. You cannot go wrong if you lead with love.
That's right. Oh, and the name of that story where my dad was concerned with is called The Letter from God. Wow. Because it is such a spiritual
Are you, do you follow a particular religion?
No, I don't. I have my own views on that, and I'm not discounting anything.
Yeah.
But I find that's conformity for me to believe in certain dialects or that sort of thing. It stifles the creativity and the freedom of the spiritual freedom, which is so paramount to releasing oneself from the unforeseen chains of being a prisoner to a belief. I'm open-minded, although I have to say I've attended many churches, many sermons, and you know what? And I do love the choirs, and I love the forgiveness of people all around. And but when that becomes the thing that stops love, stops everything that's in the interest of being human, when it promotes hatred and all those other things that we're trying to get rid of in the world, love is the answer. It is the only answer. It's always been the answer. But if we stifle it or allow propagated ideas to stifle it, we are in trouble, not just with ourselves, but with humanity.
Wow. I'm just sitting here amazed, because all of the things you're saying are things that I've said before.
Wow.
Yeah, all the things you're saying, because religion, organized religion.
Yes.
Organized crime.
Yes.
I put them on the same. I'm sorry for people out there. I don't mean to offend, but I put them on the same level. Now, if you're talking spirituality, that's a completely different thing from religion.
Yes.
And there's a higher power. We don't know what that is, whatever the higher power is. And if you just lead with love, like the rule should be, there shouldn't have to be 10 commandments, just one.
Yes,
lead with love.
Right. That's right.
Right. This is when the Church of Lisa starts right now.
Well, when you think about it, when people say the higher power, it's kind of like plugging into an electrical outlet. There's the power source, and now you're plugging into it, and so you benefit this.
Because we're all connected.
That's right. And so the higher power works through us, in the sense because we work through it. You can't have one without the other.
Yes.
And I've never sat on my laurels and hoped for or prayed for the best. I got up, I put it into action, and unbeknownst to me, things turned out way better than I could have ever imagined. It's called trust, blind faith, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But raise the vibration, get it, and deal with love. I mean, just do it, because there's no other way around it. And then you get more connections, like I'm talking in the book here. You'll have your own experiences.
Yeah.
And
so when did you start writing the book?
I started writing the book probably a year ago, February. And then, of course, you have to go through the edits and more edits edits.
That doesn't even count. You can't count that when you talk about writing the book. But did you just sit down and say, I'm going to write down a few of the most unique experiences I've had with my gift?
Well, I always had a list because conversations with friends and family, we'd get onto certain things and I'd say, oh, I remember this. And I'd pull out my list because it pertained to that. Yeah. It was a thing of, I know I'm getting old and I'm probably going to start forgetting some of this stuff,
Right.
So I want to keep a little diary of this, and one day I'll go, oh, geez, who wrote this?
Yeah. This broad really knew what she was talking about.
I'd like to have met her. So I kept a list, and then one day my husband said to me, why don't you write a book? Like, you've got so much to offer for insight, and you love everybody and you love the world and you want to help people all the time. So why don't you just write a book? And I thought, oh, no one would read it. I mean, who'd want to? And then he said, no, write the book. Yeah. So he found me, my husband, Byron, found me the publisher. And the thing about this was, I didn't know where to start. And one night we were watching TV, and we never watched the commercials. So the commercial came on for the publisher, and he just pointed to the screen and he goes, that's who's going to be your publisher. Write that number down now.
And is that who your publisher is?
That's right. That's who my publisher is. Can I say my publisher?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's Page Publishing Inc., and they're in the U.S., and I have to say that I've had nothing but the best experience working with them. They have a wonderful team, and they are extremely, ultimately supportive. And I spoke with them, and I asked them, what do you think of this, material? And Phil Drellick is his name. He said, you have no idea how spot on you are with this genre of interest today for topics. And he said, I'm sitting here in my chair and I can't believe what I'm hearing, but it is so intriguing and mystifying.
So does Page Publishing, do they specialize in the paranormal? Because usually publishing houses will specialize, like, nonfiction, fiction.
They do everything.
They do a little bit of everything. Okay.
They do a little bit of everything, and that was one of the draws. Because they didn't promise me they would publish my book. What they did was they, took it to task to read the passages or some of the manuscript that I had sent, and they wrote me back, or called me actually, and said, we've decided that we are going to take you on as an author. And I thought, wow.
And you shit your pants.
Well, I tried not to. I was terribly excited because they told me up front, we do not guarantee that we will publish your book. We're not a self-publishing.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like...
You had to be accepted by them.
Yes, I had to be accepted by them.
So you had to be good enough.
I had to be interesting enough.
Right?
I don't know about good enough, but interesting enough.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that became the beginning of
maybe
the
somebody
journey.
Was speaking through your husband.
Well, I do believe that is altogether possible.
Right?
Yes.
For him to say...
That was it. It came right up on it.
It came together it's one of those perfect storm things. This had to be going on while this was going on while this is going on. And there's only a greater power could get those things aligned.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's, if you limit your belief on that is possible, that it doesn't exist, then you have no hope. You will live your mundane life.
Yep.
Day in, day out, go to work, go to sleep, eat supper, see the kids, and maybe watch a baseball game or a hockey game.
Yeah.
So to expand your thought will only enrich your life. And you know what? People, if they got rid of the idea of, I don't want someone to know, or what would they say if they found out that, that is just all ego. Yeah. And it really dampens down your own personal journey and experiences.
Sure it does.
Yeah.
I find as I get older, I care less.
Yes.
Do you find that?
Well, it's not that I care less. It's that I put it in a compartment where I say, I'm going to say a prayer for that person. And a prayer is merely a good thought.
Right.
You know, you don't have to mix in a lot of religion or anything
Sure.
else. It's just a pure good thought that I hope that person has an awakening of what they could have. Because there are, you know, really only two energies in the world, if you will, good and evil, you know. And if I'm not working on the side of good, then I don't have a chance, and neither does somebody else that I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
you know. So it's all about moving it forward, pushing it forward, and sharing it forward. So
That's awesome. Okay, so we're end of April now, beginning of May. When will the book come out?
well, I just wrote a letter with spoke to the publisher today. We're waiting on the final edits, which should be this week. And she assured me that it will probably be within 2 weeks after that. So I'm hoping for nearing the end, last week, third week in May.
Okay, so not in time for Mother's Day, which is too bad.
Yes.
But it will be, okay, so before summer reading, which is smart. And then where will your book be available once it's out there and published?
It'll be available on Barnes & Noble, Google Play,
Amazon.
and doggone it, I can't remember the last.
Right, you could. That's okay. And you will have Instagram and Facebook.
And email, author.
Right. So it'll just be Sherry.Hanes.
Yes.
It would be either of those. So if someone wanted to check towards the middle of May, maybe wanted to check Facebook or Insta, they
Yes.
can look at Sherry.Hanes. And Sherry is spelled SHERRY. Hanes is HANES.
Correct.
And I if you do think of that third one, let me know, because I do I have a social media page called The Book Cover on Facebook.
Yes, you do.
and I will be posting, listen up for my interview with Sherry, and if you find that, I will put that in the post as well.
I will have that for you by this
Yeah.
evening, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I first of all, half an hour wasn't enough to talk to you. We might have to carry this on some night, and or maybe when you write your second book, we'll have to have you.
Yes,
back.
the second book is already in the works.
Oh,
I have to say.
awesome!
Yes.
Oh, I love it. Along the same vein.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nonfiction, all spiritual stuff, all paranormal,
Love it.
all the unknown.
I love it.
Yes.
Oh, Sherry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was surely a pleasure.
Thank you. I've been talking with Sherry Hanes. She is the author of
Spirited Conversations. Next.
Question mark.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Sherry. You've been listening to The Book Cover. I am Lisa Tucker on The Borderline. And remember, don't judge a book by its cover.
Hi, this is Sherry Hanes, and I am here with The Borderline. I am the newest author of a paranormal nonfiction book, and it's called Spirited Conversations. Next. Some fascinating stories, and I'm sure you're going to be able to relate. Thank you for listening to The Borderline. TheBorderline.ca on the World Wide Web.